A low grinding sound stopped the entire restoration crew. One stone slab, untouched for centuries, had shifted. Not by force, but as if something below had given way. No blueprints showed a void there. No documents mentioned a sub-foundation. But when scanners confirmed a cavity beneath the sacred tomb of Jesus, every protocol changed. This wasn't maintenance anymore. This was a discovery. And no one, not the priests, not the scholars, not even the archaeologists, was ready for what they were about to uncover. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre stands above the most sacred ground in Christianity. Revered as the site of Christ's death and resurrection, it has been studied, mapped, and excavated for centuries. But beneath its 4th century foundations, a new layer of history, one never documented, has been found. If you're fascinated by these incredible archaeological revelations, make sure to like this video and subscribe. We uncover truth buried beneath the world's most sacred places, so you don't miss a single discovery. First came the lower stones, carefully lifted to prevent collapse. Beneath them, a network of carved rock tunnels stretching beyond the modern church's perimeter. One chamber, sealed with pitch and lined with cedar planks, had not been opened since the early Roman period. The smell inside was a mix of earth and oil, frankincense, myrrh, and something unknown. On the far wall, a mural, faded, ancient, not Roman. A garden scene, fig trees, olives, and a tomb entrance. But above the tomb, hovering unnaturally, a flame painted in gold. Beneath it, 3 Hebrew letters, almost erased, SHB, return. Botanical specialists were called in. Soil samples from the chamber tested positive for ancient pollen, fig, olive, nard. All plants described in the New Testament's burial accounts. But this wasn't symbolic. This was physical evidence that the ground beneath the crucifixion site had once been cultivated. A real garden. In the next chamber, they found bone boxes, ossuaries. One of them bore a name etched in shaky Greek: Simon, servant of the Lamb. That designation alone triggered debate. Not a title. A claim. Scholars from the University of Haifa dated the box to between 50 and 80 AD, well within the lifetime of Jesus' earliest followers. More layers were removed. A burial shaft appeared, cut directly into the rock, but untouched by later construction. At its base, a single stone bench, smeared with resin and flecked with dried plant oils. Radiocarbon dating confirmed something extraordinary. The oils matched 1st-century Jewish burial practices, but had somehow remained preserved in the humidity for 2,000 years. Then the resonance began. Sensors placed around the excavation site began picking up irregular magnetic pulses. Not seismic, not electric. A geophysicist from the Technion Institute was brought in. His verdict: something metallic, deep. Its reflecting signal like a chamber, or a container. Further ground-penetrating radar revealed a cavity deeper than any previously mapped. No stairs, no tunnel access, just a void, sealed by time and sediment. But its shape was unmistakable. A hexagon, almost perfect, with one side broken inward, as if from within. Above this anomaly, buried in the upper strata, were fragments of iron, bent, scorched, and corroded with age. Not Roman weapons, nails, 3 in total. One fused to what appeared to be bone dust, another wrapped in linen fibers, the third embedded in a charred piece of olive wood. Forensic analysis confirmed what many feared to believe. The fibers were 1st-century Judean. The wood matched trees still growing on the Mount of Olives. And the bone? Human. Male. Middle Eastern origin. With no signs of formal burial, just impact trauma and oxidization. That's when a second inscription was discovered. Painted, not carved. invisible to the naked eye, but revealed under infrared. He who walks in the garden is not gone. It matches no known scripture, but the phrasing echoes a post-resurrection encounter. A line from John 20, where Mary mistakes the risen Jesus for a gardener. At this depth, every artifact defied expectations. Charcoal writing on a pottery shard read simply, "Day of the Lamb." Another, "The veil was torn." But none of these came from scrolls. They were graffiti, carved hastily, as if someone hiding underground during the early persecution of Christians had recorded what they saw, or believed, in real time. Larger questions emerged. Why was this section sealed off? Who buried it? And why did church records never mention it? In the final hours of the first phase of excavation, a single artifact was pulled from the earth. A stone disk, black and dense, not native to Jerusalem. It bore markings in Paleo-Hebrew, an older form of script, extinct by the time of Jesus. And its message, translated by a scholar in complete silence, was short. "This is not the end." Stone by stone, the excavation continued downward, past the known history of the church, deeper into undocumented terrain. Beneath the lowest mapped layers, they struck something that sounded different. Not stone, not soil. A hollow, metallic echo. When the floor gave way, what emerged was not a cave, but a chamber. Six-sided, perfectly geometric, and in its center, suspended by bronze chains from the ceiling, a container unlike anything the team had seen. It wasn't Roman, it wasn't Byzantine, it was crystalline, carved from quartz, sealed at each edge with bands of hammered gold. The air inside shimmered, almost charged. As the lid was carefully raised, the interior revealed a single scroll, papyrus wrapped in linen, untouched by decay. The ink still dark. The symbols, undecipherable. Not Greek, not Hebrew, not Aramaic. A code, entirely unknown. Within hours, the scroll was on its way to the Israeli Antiquities Authority, under armed escort. Specialists were called in from Oxford, the Vatican, and the Smithsonian. One linguist wept when he saw it. He said, "These characters, they're phonetic." But not from Earth's history. That same night, thermal sensors in the chamber began recording heat. No machinery, no light source, just a gentle increase, 0.4 degrees Celsius, emanating from the floor. When they peeled back the layer of stone directly beneath the scroll, they found something older than the chamber itself. A footprint, human, preserved in solidified clay, left there before the ground hardened. Imaging scans revealed two more beneath it, smaller, side by side. A man, a woman, a child, all facing east. From the far side of the excavation, another object was unearthed, a block of limestone, fractured diagonally. On one side, it bore a faint impression, a Roman gladius. On the other, burned into the stone, a symbol of a fish, split down the center. Beneath it, etched like a signature, "The witness fled." Nearby, buried between layers of shattered marble, a wooden beam surfaced. It measured exactly 1.82 meters, standard for Roman execution posts. Embedded deep within the wood, black iron spikes, but not in the usual configuration. These were set low, near ankle height, and one bore remnants of rope twisted with strands of human hair. Carbon dating placed the beam between 30 and 40 AD. Then came the sound. Low, rhythmic, vibrational. Sensors around the site began pulsing in sequence. 3 beats, then silence. 3 beats, then silence. It wasn't mechanical. It wasn't seismic. Engineers described it as a pressure wave, but not from above. It was emanating from directly beneath the site. An emergency halt was called. As workers pulled back from the edges, One of the lead archaeologists noticed something behind a support wall. A painted outline, rough, hurried. A door, sealed with wax, marked with a red X. When it was opened, the air inside dropped by 10 degrees instantly. The room was empty, except for a small stone table and a set of oil lamps still intact. On the table, bones, 3, delicate, vertebrae, and a partial jaw. Burned clean, but unburied. No offerings, no markings. But on the wall behind it, a phrase scratched violently into the stone. The garden knows. Back near the quartz chamber, one of the ground team noticed a section of flooring didn't align with the rest. Lifting it revealed another sealed cavity. Inside, a sculpture. Primitive. Unfired clay. A human figure. Arms outstretched, eyes missing, mouth agape. But here's what shocked everyone. The figure had 7 fingers on each hand. Experts ruled out error. It was intentional. The surrounding shards carried similar markings, numbers, variants, all matching prophetic visions from the Book of Daniel and Revelation. Forensic teams analyzing the inner wall plaster found layers of soot embedded with spores, ancient mold, extinct for centuries, but alive, reactivated by the moisture in the chamber. These spores, previously only found in burial tombs near Qumran, are known for preserving organic matter unnaturally well. Further DNA testing on the earlier blood traces came back with an anomaly flagged as a genetic outlier. The analyst's note read, untraceable mitochondrial mutations, unknown origin, no match in global databases. One layer deeper, and they hit metal, a bronze plate bolted into the stone. It bore no decoration, no artistic motif, just words, not painted, not etched, stamped. In the time of the torn veil, this shall open. Beneath that, nothing, just solid bedrock. But a single line had been cut into it, clean, mechanical, like a laser, but thousands of years before lasers existed. The line curved, spiraled, and ended in a hollow recess, shaped like an eye. When a flashlight was shone into the recess, it reflected in a pattern no one could understand. Dozens of dots, like stars. An astrophysicist was called in. He ran the light through spectral analysis. The result? The light path matched the constellation Draco. Not as it appears now, but as it would have appeared in the sky 2,000 years ago, on the night of Passover. That changed everything. They drilled no further. The order was given. Observe only, do not disturb. But the chamber didn't wait. The pulses intensified, not louder, not stronger, but closer together, as if whatever was beneath was reacting. Radiation sensors, untouched since setup, began flickering. Not nuclear, not environmental, but pulsed spikes of ionized energy, short, rhythmic, precise. It mimicked Morse code, except the sequence didn't match any human language. AI analysis later flagged one pattern as binary, an equation, a gravitational constant with a variation only now theorized in deep space cosmology. And then the air shifted. Temperature dropped 4 degrees in under 30 seconds. Stone that hadn't moved in centuries began to crack, not from pressure, but vibration. A hairline fissure opened near the bronze plate. Behind it, something shimmered, not metal, not moisture, but obsidian glass. A wall, seamless, mirror-like. When light hit the surface, symbols emerged, hundreds of them, floating, pulsing, disappearing like breath on glass. But these weren't etched. They were projected from inside the stone itself. And one image held steady, a tree with 12 branches, each marked by stars. A geneticist identified the pattern as mitochondrial DNA markers, 12 haplogroups, 12 tribes. The next morning, the church's upper rotunda began vibrating, faintly. Tourists were cleared. Monks escorted out. One priest collapsed at the altar and claimed to see a man with no face standing in fire. His pulse was normal. His temperature was not 108 degrees. He survived. But his retinas were burned, without any exposure to light. Back underground, the obsidian wall responded to touch, not pressure, skin. When a technician's bare hand brushed its surface, the wall opened, silently. Behind it, a staircase, perfect spiral, descending into complete blackness. No dust, no decay, as if it had been opened yesterday. Infrared drones were deployed. They transmitted only 7 frames before the feed cut. In that brief window, one image stopped everything. A chamber carved like a geode. Purple crystal, pooled water, and suspended above it, a stone tablet hovering 2 inches in the air, not levitating, rotating. Recovery teams were sent in. The air was breathable, but filled with static, audible to the naked ear. A low whisper, rising and falling, too fast to be speech. But when filtered through digital slowing, it formed phonemes. The result, ancient Aramaic. He was here. He is not gone. Inside the pool, the water was perfectly still, but the reflection didn't match reality. Where the team stood, 5 people, 6 figures appeared, one standing behind them. When they turned, no one was there. That night, every camera on site shut down. Hard drives corrupted. Thermal recorders melted from within, without fire. But physical evidence remained. The floor, once smooth, now bore prints. Human, barefoot. But not just one set. Dozens. And one pair, far larger than any human foot could produce. DNA retrieved from the prints showed ancient proteins laced with trace metals not found in Earth's crust. The isotope ratios suggested off-world origin, but buried inside first-century Jerusalem bedrock. Nothing matched. Nothing made sense. At 3:47 a.m., the oldest bell in the church tower, sealed and inoperable since the 1800s, rang. Once, and then again. 3 times. The Vatican dispatched a full envoy the following day. By then, something else had surfaced. Literally. A panel in the floor beside the mirror wall had risen, on its own. Underneath, a compartment. Within it, a book, bound in leather, sealed in wax. No markings, but X-ray scans showed pages, made of thin, flexible gold. The text, once opened, glowed faintly under ultraviolet. Not written in ink, burned in, laser precise. The language, a hybrid, Hebrew structure, Latin suffixes, and embedded between lines, mathematical symbols far beyond first-century knowledge. A physicist on site recognized one equation, a theory tied to gravitational lensing used to predict the location of black holes. The same formula, unknown until 1979, written in gold 2 millennia ago. Another page showed diagrams, architecture. Not of a church, of something vast, circular, multi-level, resembling Ezekiel's vision of the wheels, but with mechanical accuracy. Symbols indicated movement, rotation, elevation, propulsion. And one final page, folded separately, bore only 4 lines. When the stars align over the garden, the gate shall open. The seal will break. The firstborn will rise, and the silent voice will speak. The gold began to flake. Not corrode, disintegrate. Within 2 minutes of exposure, the book was reduced to dust. Only the translations remained, captured in fragments. Outside, a sandstorm erupted, without wind. A funnel of dust rose above the dome. Local residents described hearing a hum, like a shofar, but metallic. Birds stopped flying. Phones went dark. And at the center of the storm, visible only for 13 seconds, A beam of light shone upward, from the earth, not the sky. The light vanished. Only the dust remained, floating, settling, whispering secrets only the stones understood. Beneath the church, the ground trembled, barely perceptible, yet enough to crack the ancient walls. The camera crew caught something impossible. Shadows moving in the darkness, stretching like hands, reaching through the fissures. No source of light, no origin. On a forgotten altar, dust shifted to reveal a worn scroll case, untouched by time. Inside, fragments of papyrus bore a single phrase, scrawled in faded ink. "He who bears the mark will awaken beneath the seventh seal." An artifact, discovered under layers of rubble. A simple iron ring, not ornate, but inscribed with the name Yeshua in Paleo-Hebrew. Radiocarbon tests aligned it perfectly with the early 1st century, but embedded within the metal was a thin vein of an unknown element not found on Earth's periodic table. Nearby, the excavation team uncovered a series of symbols carved deep into a basalt column. They told a story, fractured and incomplete, of a journey between realms. The final symbol was a circle, broken at one point, encasing a spiral that seemed to pulse softly in the torchlight. A vibration thrummed through the air. It wasn't audible. It was felt. A low-frequency hum, awakening nerve endings, stirring memories long forgotten. At the moment the sound peaked, one of the archaeologists felt an intense warmth on his chest, where no light touched. A pressure, as if a hand pressed firmly from within. The oldest stones in the church revealed their secret when brushed with a chemical solution. Faint, ghostly outlines of figures appeared. Angels? Witnesses? One figure, cloaked and faceless, held an object in his hands, a box emitting rays of light. Deeper in the subterranean chambers, an iron door was discovered, cold to the touch, and sealed with 7 ancient locks. Etched into the metal was a single word in Greek: Enigma, opening. Beside the door, a set of footprints imprinted in hardened clay. They showed one step forward, then abruptly stopped, as if whoever made them vanished into thin air. At the heart of the church, the altar stone pulsed faintly. Infrared scans detected a heat signature no larger than a heartbeat, cycling between presence and absence, like a breathing entity trapped beneath centuries of faith and stone. A brittle manuscript surfaced, written in a mixture of Aramaic and Greek. It spoke of a silent voice, a promise of return not in thunder, but in whisper. The last line read, almost like a prayer: "He walks among us unseen, until the veil is torn anew." On the cold walls, an eerie light projected without source, tracing a map, one that didn't match any earthly geography. Lines converged at a single point beneath the church, where the pulse originated, a place marked by the ancients as the threshold. The ground quaked softly. A fissure opened slightly, revealing a sliver of something glowing beneath, the unmistakable shimmer of liquid metal flowing like water in a channel carved by unseen hands. As the sun rose over Jerusalem, the church remained silent, its ancient stones guarding secrets that defied time, faith, and reason. But deep below, where no eye had seen before, something stirred again, waiting for the 7th seal to break. The silence returned. 3 beats. Then, nothing.